Okay, so let's get out our discussion we were having. Get out the pages on serendipity. How you doing?
Good.
Good to see you back. So, really quickly, so we paired up last time, and we had, is everyone's partner here who you put this together with last time? So, we're going to continue where we left off. Who else? And I think we were finished with number 5, right? That was the last one we did. So let's continue, and if it's just you who's here, then you get to do it all on your own. Last time, for those of you who weren't here, we paired up, and then we're going through this and just kind of seeing how this applies to the idea of serendipity as we played with in class on Monday. So we're just kind of trying to expand our awareness of this principle that is one of the cooler ones that we can stick in our tool chest of power tools, power mind tools. Do you like that one, buddy? Power mind tools. We got hammers, drills. Serendipity is a powerful power tool. So, who had number 6? Okay, tell us what you thought about it and some possible applications or experiences, events, occurrences that relate to that one. So go ahead.
Sure. Okay. Ours is the greatest miracle of all is the simple fact of being and being the best you can for your true self. And we just, we thought it was just, you know, kind of appreciating what you have and where you are and kind of living in the moment and, you know, just appreciating just small things and achievements, and then being true to your truest self or being the best you can to your truest self is just standing up for what you believe and being honest with yourself.
An example I
Okay.
kind of thought of was we get caught up a lot of times in the trivial things in life, like worldly materials or possessions or things we have to do every day. But if we slow down and think about it, it's a miracle that we can walk and that we can talk and communicate with each other, that we're all individuals with our own personalities, and that we all have things to enjoy within ourselves and each other that doesn't depend on all those trivial things. There's a lot of simple things that we overlook because we get caught up in the rush of life.
When it says our truest self, what are we thinking about there? What is truest self? Who you really are? Meaning?
Meaning, like, I think we're all human beings, and we're all different. And I think we know deep down inside, like, what our values and beliefs and attitudes about life are more than anybody else here. And then, like, living, like, what we know is living our, like, being our true self.
Okay, good.
I would think pure self could be a good word too, because sometimes we might naturally want something that isn't good, but if we're true to a pure self or a good self, we would make the right decision, or I don't know, something just like that. Always being true to what we know we should do.
Where does that come from? Right?
Being true self is kind of ourself without our ego. Kind of just like our mental awareness when we're kind of in, just kind of like when we're around people that we care about. That's like unconditional love, where we can just kind of be ourselves no matter what. I think that's kind of finding our truer self, to be that everywhere is a great word.
Yeah, it's interesting how, have you ever found that when you're planning your day, you know, you're going through what you want to do that day, and you think, okay, these are things that I feel, you know, in your quietness of your home, you're going, these are the things that I feel should be done today. These are the things that are important to me. And then you get out into, like you're saying, the trivial things, and they pull you away from those things. They, oh no, this is more enticing, this is more fun, this is more great. I'm not saying the serendipitous event might not be those things, it might be those things. But your truest self happened that morning. When you were, okay, here's what I really feel is the most important things. What can I do about those things? And staying true to those when the trivial things, like you're saying, pop up. At the same time, recognizing that some of those things that pop up might be the serendipitous, something better kind of idea. So it's a fine line there that you have to be in touch with, okay, is this serendipity or is this just quick, easy, convenient, get me out of here, or get me doing something fun because I'm trying, because my ego wants fast, easy, convenient. More seductive. Good. Number 7. 7.
I have that one. It says the thing you set your mind on is the thing you ultimately become. And Alyssa had a really good example of that, but she's not here, and I can't really remember it, so I don't want to mess it up. But it made me think of like the self-talk. Like if you tell yourself you can't do something, then you can't, because that's what you believe. But if you tell yourself that you can do something, and you set your mind to it, then I think you can.
It's that same thing. I mean, it's interesting how every single writer, and these come from Richard Eyer's book, Serendipity of the Spirit, or Spiritual Serendipity. I notice he's written that with both titles. It's so interesting that everybody that we read who's written about mind-body wellness says this line on here. We've heard what you just said. How many times in here? You're not going to have a boat in your front lawn if you never think of having the boat there. You're not going to become an astronaut if you never think about becoming an astronaut. What you think about, you become. And I think it's important for us, like Carson said, to continue to keep that uppermost in our mind. The thing we think about is what we become. It can't be any other way. Can't possibly be any other way.
Listen to God, how powerful the mind is in making us become what we are. Yesterday I was taking my dog on a walk, and I wasn't looking down. I was looking up as I was walking, and all of a sudden I heard myself step into a puddle. Like I heard like a splash. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm soaking wet. I'm so cold. And all these thoughts are going through my mind. I just thought my feet were soaked, and I looked down and I had stepped on some leaves. I didn't even step in a puddle, and I thought it had been a puddle. So I wasn't wet at all, and I wasn't even cold. I had coats on, but I had made myself think that I was just soaked and that I was freezing, and I had actually like felt wet. It was weird. It just shows you how powerful the mind is.
And so immediate. I mean, so
Yeah.
immediately
Absolutely.
you think, oh, well, I'm going to make myself feel warm doing autogenics.
Yeah.
Myself really warm. But that sounds like it was like
Yeah, and
in
then
an
immediately
instant.
I looked down and I'm like, oh, I'm dry.
Great example. Thank you. That's an excellent one. Okay, good. Number 8. This is interesting. Who had 8?
Okay, what we want too desperately eludes us constantly, and
Okay, now first of all, before you start, does that sound like a contradiction to number 7? It sort of does. At first you go, well, if I'm thinking about it, I'm going to become it, but how am I going to elude it? How's it going to elude me? It sounds contradictory. So Tell us how it's not contradictory to number 7.
Where does elude mean?
Elude, it goes, keeps away from us.
Okay.
It doesn't come to us. Elude is the opposite of attract.
Okay.
We put on there that if you, one way that would be, might be that way is that you're not open-minded to other possibilities. You're so focused on what you want so badly that you won't see what else could be out there or another way of getting there. I think Heidi said, a quote that you have said, what you resist, the more it persists. You know, if you're still constantly at it, it's constantly out there. And what we want isn't really what we need. Maybe that's in a way it eludes us, because maybe it's not really what we need. So.
And if we desperately want it, it probably isn't even, it's even less what we need. You know, if you've just got to have that new Beamer, or that you've got to have that Prince Charming, or you've got to have that whatever.
Where do you define the line between desperately want and just really strive to get? Like, where do you kind of define?
So here's how I like to, this is how I liken that idea, because I even read a book, I forget what, the name of it was called Winning Through Enlightenment by, forgot his name, a little black book. And he said, if you must have a thing, you can't have it. If you must have it, you can't have it. And the idea is, I like, and the way I picture that is, have you ever seen those little cotton things that float around in the air? You know, the little puffy, and what happens when you try to grab it? You can't get it. The more you try to grab it, it goes, you grab it again, and I've got fast hands. And I can never get those. How do you get those into your hand? Yeah, you just let it land there. That's letting something happen, whereas having to have it is the gripping, I gotta have this or else kind of idea. It's a new idea. It's a different idea, because we're not, we've had the idea, if you want to get something, you go for it, and you're going to get it. You know, nothing's going to stand in my way. Serendipity says, it might not be what you're supposed to have. But if you allow it to happen, you set your goal and you focus on it, then it will come by right action. But you won't. You could also just as well do without it. See, as soon as it becomes a need, then it doesn't become a want, and you can't have it. As soon as you need it, you can't be without it, then you also can't have it.
I was going to say, the example that I came up with in this was, I tried to get into nursing school for 3 years, and finally I got brave and I changed my major, and now I go here. But I spent 3 years sitting there doing something that in the end, when I had the choice of changing, I made that choice and it actually ended up being the better choice. So I, in a way, kind of wasted 3 years, but it took that long for it to click to me, like, hey, maybe you don't want this, let's go down a different road.
Sometimes you wonder, does the stress that you have been wanting it so badly create the barriers for it too? So kind of the same thing. If you're constantly trying to grab it or just letting it happen, you know, maybe the stress of the you have to have it might create more barriers.
What do you think?
The desperation, for me, it relates to like a victim energy. And if you're desperate for something and you're putting out that energy, it's not going to happen, because you're not, desperation and a victim energy is not going to achieve a positive outcome. You constantly tell yourself you want it, but somewhere in your mind, you're denying yourself as well. And so to let go of the desperation, to let go of the victim energy, is allowing yourself.
And you may still get it, but it won't be fulfilling if
Yeah.
you're in that way of being.
I think part of the question was, too, if you're working towards something, is that desperation? And I don't think that that's what it is. If you're working towards something and you know, you do everything you can to make something able to happen, it's still happening, you're not making it happen. If you're taking the steps, you know, to save money for a house or a car or whatever, you're not saying, I have to have this car and this house and da da. You're still just working towards whatever house it is that you need to have, and that'll all fall into place serendipity-wise or whatever. But if you pick a particular house and it's not even for sale, and that's the house you have to have, that's never going to happen, no matter how desperate you are. So, you know, if it's a weight goal or a goal or whatever it is you're working towards, you can still work towards something, you just can't make it happen.
Yeah, the thing that we have to keep in mind with serendipity is, I mean, it's easy to forget the engine that's running the show. The omnipotent, omniscient, omnipresence that's inside of us, that's what's running the show. And knows, okay, if this is what you're supposed to have, good, we'll create that. And if that's not what's supposed to happen for you, then we will also create a serendipitous event, a happy accident that will give you a better goal. And if your mind is on my ego and my self-importance, then you might end up with the house or the weight change, but you're not going to, it's not going to be right for you. It's not going to be your puzzle piece, your dharma. But if you allow yourself to be in the hands of that omnipresence, then whatever that outcome is will be fulfilling for you. And it still might be the thing that you want originally. But yeah, the struggle of I've got to make this happen is what makes the problem. Or the struggle of it. As soon as you let go and say, I don't know how this is supposed to happen, then the engine starts running in your favor. It's really, okay, 9. Who did 9? Nobody here? Okay. Oh, yeah, we skipped 10. The goal so I think 9 is pretty much, we figured that one out. Oh, you had a thought or an idea.
Oh, just on the last one. It was just, everyone's already talked about.
Oh, okay. The goals you find, the way the goal you want, maybe more precious than the goal you seek. So that's that is the essence of serendipity. Now, who had 11?
Yeah.
Okay, tell us about 11. This is a fun one.
Well, it said, why did what happened happen?
Okay, so get this, this is for everyone else. So when you're looking back on something, and you say, and this is the question, why the heck did that accident happen? Okay, so.
Okay, so then it says, what happened was either for your growth or for your guidance, or what happened because you drew the happening to yourself by conscious or unconscious forces within yourself, or what happened not for your benefit, but for the benefit of progress and health.
3 possible ways. So tell us what you think.
I think all 3 of these they should all kind of have their own category, but the one that we kind of talked about in the example I had was what happened not for your benefit, but for the benefit of profit something else.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess I kind of thought about my sister, and she had an experience where she's had 2 miscarriages, and with those miscarriages, her last one was really hard on her, and none of us, she has 3 sisters, and none of us knew what to say to her, or how to comfort her, or do anything.
Mm-hmm.
And she knew that, but all of these other people who had the same experience and had heard about what happened to her called, crying, comforting her because they knew what she was going through.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like maybe that she didn't feel like losing a child was benefiting her, but to someone else who had lost it, was able to benefit her.
Good. Excellent example. See, this is an idea that never occurred to me growing up. Selfish Mike said, well, it must have something to do with me. Right? It's for my growth or for my learning or something I was supposed to, or I caused it to happen. You know, law of attraction. it never occurred to me that there was a third thing that had nothing to do with me. And what a cool idea to think that you are the serendipitous event in somebody else's life. Isn't that an interesting idea? That you're the happy accident for somebody else. They have anything to do with you. Or you're the opportunity to really make a difference in somebody else's life. Doesn't have anything to do with you.
I kind of thought of another example while we read this again today. So I play volleyball, and this was a year and a half ago, and I got offers everywhere, and I had a feeling to go to Dixie. I went to Dixie and loved schooling and everything, but volleyball just wasn't what I expected, like nothing at all. And so I had a feeling. Well, just the coach didn't treat me very well.
Okay.
And so I had a feeling to talk to the Weaver State coach,
Al,
who I've known since I was 12. And I went and talked to him, and he was like, "Well, why don't you play for us?" And this was the Saturday before school started on Monday, and so I had to decide, and so I chose to come here. And how it benefited my parents, because volleyball was my life. It was my job. I didn't really have a job, and so they kind of helped me money-wise. So it benefited them because I got a scholarship out of it. And so it kind of was like both ways. I got to play something I loved, and they didn't have to worry about money. Yeah. So it just kind of was a unexpected thing that happened, but at the same time, very beneficial.
benefited not only you, but them as well.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that cool?
I thought came when the first one, the what happened was either for your growth or your guidance. Especially when we asked why did that happen, if it causes pain or something like that. And I think it was just a few years ago where I finally came to the conclusion that when pain occurs or when things happen that may be disappointing or hurtful or difficult, I think in general we seem to deem it as that's bad, and I want to avoid it. But I gained a greater, I guess, faith towards it, that those are things I don't necessarily ask for them, but I certainly embrace them when they come my way. I think again, too many times we try to avoid them or deem them as, I hope that never happens again, but that's how we grow. And looking at things that way, I even remember just facing a situation and saying, okay, bring it on. I know I'm going to grow from this and it's going to be difficult, but looking at it in this light has been so rewarding.
And that's so contrary to everyone who says, I don't want any pain, give me a pill.
Yeah.
I don't want any emotional pain, give me the pill for this, whatever I'm going through. I don't want any physical pain, give me a pill.
Right.
And
This same concept, I didn't have that aha moment till I had children. And I saw them going through something and realizing that I had to let them have their own experience. And what was interesting is you'd see that it was for their growth, but I always gained something from it too. So it was my own, my own serendipity. But it's kind of a weird concept to think that you are helping someone have that moment, their serendipity, but also it comes back again to you as well. So.
yeah, I think it was Thoreau who said, and I'm mashing it to pieces, but he said one of the slyest tricks of life is the idea that you benefit by helping somebody else. That there's a certain selfishness, divine selfishness in benefiting another person because of that very idea. Okay, good. 12.
In every seed of seeming tragedy is hidden the fruit of authority and reward. And that's kind of like 11, I thought. And it's just that when bad things happen, you may think that it's bad, but it really could be a blessing in disguise, or something good can happen from it. And Cody had an example.
Yeah, I was on the swim team, and one of my good friends that I swam with, it was at the end of the season, and it was where there was the important meets, and he decided to go snowboarding when he wasn't supposed to. He broke his arm. And so everyone.
A tragedy.
It was a tragedy.
Yeah.
It was the worst thing. It was the end of the season. He worked so hard, and now he couldn't swim. And so everyone's like, "Oh, this is the worst thing ever." And then he found online he got this like cover for his cast, and so he could actually swim with it. And he had to get it like approved with the like state swimming association and stuff like that.
Alright.
So he got that, and then he started swimming with it. And so he'd swim with us in practice. But the problem was his arm like was pretty weak from it, and so he had to use his legs a lot, and so he kicked a lot harder. And so he did that a lot more. And then he learned like a lot about like determination and stuff. And so then the rest of that season he did terrible, and like he'd swim at meets, but he was just awful.
Right.
And so and then it was the next year though, once his arm was all the way healed, that he was better at kicking, and he like mentally was a lot stronger, and so he swam way better than he ever could have. And so
There you go. What a great story.
Like the Chinese food.
Which one?
They put the forest in the side.
Oh, yeah.
That's
Tragedy.
really
Excellent. Yeah. Right.
I think this one's really well written. It says, in every seed of single tragedy, consider the fruit, glory of the Lord. You never get fruit from a seed. You always get a fruit tree.
Right.
So you have to wait until the seed grows first. So
There's
you
a
have
down the road kind of thing. Yeah. Excellent. That every time something like this happens, I think, if this is a principle, which means that it is in place like gravity, then I always think, okay, what is the silver lining? What is the bright side of this? And whenever anyone brings up, oh, how bad it is, into the back of my mind, I think, well, what's good about this? Or what can be good about this? And there's always something that is. And it may not be until down the road that you realize that. But always something.
Those are some of the best rewards. The ones that you would never have expected to have gotten and received after risen above that tragedy is some of the best stuff that you can have, some of the best rewards.
Sounds like exactly what happened to your swimmer friend.
Yeah.
Okay, good. 13.
Okay. Be ready for the unexpected and tantalized by spontaneous happenings, which are part of the natural order of things. So Taylor and I were talking about this. It was kind of like just in life, there's always unexpected things. They just come up and things happen or get in the way of what we, think or
Plan for.
Yeah, what we plan for, and we should probably just be ready. We just should just be open to the fact that something unexpected is going to happen, and just let it happen rather than resisting it.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking, I'm the type of person that if like something happens that I wasn't planning on, it like frustrates me and I get so mad. But my husband.
You like the control.
Yes, that's why I always have to ask you. But like my husband is the complete opposite, and he can just have fun doing whatever. It drives me even more nuts. But sometimes I think I need to be more like that because at the end, like, I end up not. I end up missing out on a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking forward to what I had planned, not what spontaneously happened.
I don't know if this is the case for you, but in my case, whenever I have, and this doesn't happen very often, but like on my calendar, I have scheduled things that I put in there, whether it's in class or with students or meetings or whatever, I plan them. And if I have empty spaces, I think, oh good, there's a space where I can catch up. Almost every single time in that empty space, something I didn't plan for fills it. It's like nature abhors this vacuum, so I'm going to fill it with
You just gotta
something.
write fake things.
I should do that.
So that life doesn't.
That's a good idea.
I have a meeting with,
Meeting with myself.
all right,
That
you
takes
should
care of
come
the
in.
That's a good idea. There we go. Did we do 14? Did anyone do that one? Okay, so you were the last one. Okay. You had 15. So 14, serendipity is involved in all life, at all parts, at all times, as part of nature's law. And the thought that comes to me, like I mentioned before, gravity is always at work. There's no way that you can, as long as you're close to this planet, gravity's always going to be in play. It's a principle. And I think serendipity is the same way. The only difference is with serendipity, we have to be conscious. We have to be aware that this is what's going on, that this is in play. Because if we just function unconsciously, it's not going to be, the engine's not going to be at work. But as soon as we stay conscious of it, we're just kind of watchful. And really, that's how it is we watch. Trusting that that omnipresent, omnipotent power is the engine going. You want to go ahead with
The thing is, get on with your adventure and your quest. You may not always find what you seek, but you can discover something equally great or greater in the scheme of things. And I've been thinking about this a lot since Monday. Like, it's been constantly on my mind. And I know I got very personal on Monday with my story. And I don't mind, you know, like.
There you are.
But I was thinking about it because I mentioned how we unexpectedly started our family really early. You know, it wasn't what we were planning on. And then we get a call saying, hey, you won't be able to have more kids because of the chemo. And it's like, what if we had waited till we were done with school to start that family? And now we have these 3 kids. And then, you know, and what we've been through is really hard, but I don't think it's any harder than what other people have gone through. You know, like, I think divorce would be so hard. I think custody battles would be so, you know, I don't think anything I've been through is harder than anything that anybody else will go through in life. And then ironically, my sister-in-law sent me an email on Monday night, and she said to me, she goes, you know, I don't think you're having enough faith in John that he can support your family because you're so focused on going to school and then working in the future. And you don't, well, you're going to look back and realize everything you've missed out on because you're too focused on going to school. And I was just like, wow. Oh, wow. What am I missing out on? I don't feel like I'm missing out on anything by being here. I mean, look at all these things I'm learning. Look at how my life's improving because I am learning these things. And like I said, like EFT. Okay, like I said, we've used that with my husband. And his levels have been so abnormal because he was diagnosed in May. And his levels have been so abnormal, like everything is just out of whack. And we did EFT, and then he, I told you, he plans this guy's trip to Moab every year.
Biking.
Yeah, biking. But he took his dirt bike this year. And then the deer hunt was for 2 weeks, and he's like, oh, I have to go hunting. And I'm thinking, you are so sick, and you're going to kill yourself if you do all this. And he went to the doctor on Monday after this class also. Just everything happened. Like, oh, I think my eyes were open, really. But he went to the doctor, and the doctor's like, all of your levels are completely normal.
Yeah.
And he's like, so his final chemo's next week, and he's like, we're taking you off all your medications. And
really?
Wow. Yeah, everything.
Oh my
and
God,
so,
Molly.
you know, like, I'm like, whoa, okay, here's serendipity for us because here I'm taking this class. We start practicing like more autogenics at night and the EFT. And I think, you know, serendipity, it does happen, like things happen, but I think that we also have an impact on what can happen too. I don't think it's just going to happen and it's all going to fall into place. And, you know, I think that a lot is effort on our part, but, you know, and just continuing on and like, so get on with your adventure and quest. And my husband was a perfect example. He's like, I'm sick, who cares? I'm still going to do what I love to do. And I mean, it benefited him, you know? And so now it's like 7 years later, you know, after starting our family, it's like, okay, we see why we did that. And it's been an adventure going to school with 3 kids, but we've done it. And I honestly feel like nothing I've been through is harder than what anybody else will go through in life. But things have fallen into place. And so, I don't know, I just feel like I'm a good example of serendipity and how it can go.
So how did you respond to your sister-in-law or whatever? What did you respond?
Just ignored it. She's crazy. She's just like against a woman doing anything outside the home. And, you know, and that's kind of, I find in our culture, I think it's changing. But I think in our culture, a lot of people say a woman needs to be home
needs to raise their kids, and I don't think I'm not raising my kids right now. You know? But I'm just like, whatever, she can think what she thinks, because I feel like I'm not missing out on anything. I know I'm not missing out on anything. But
See, what you're doing is in relation to number 6. You're
Be
being
yourself.
according to your truest self.
So I'm sorry that I shared too much, but, you know, like, whatever.
There's a really great quote that I like from the guy who wrote The Road Less Traveled.
Oh, no, I have that on fast. I just looked that one.
No, not the
Not the poem.
Not the poem, but the book. Road.
Oh, I remember that book.
Peck. Yeah, the guy who wrote The Road Less Traveled. He said this quote, and I'll never forget it. It's so great. He said, "Life is hard." You know, you were saying about that. He said, "Life is hard, and the instant you realize that life is hard, it ceases to be so hard." And you're okay with it being tough. And every one of us has tough lives. Nobody's sliding through. But if you're okay with that, you say, bring it on, then it ceases to be such a, you know, you're, okay, tough travels here. Cool, let's ride this wave.
Right, and like how I get to that stage of just accepting life's hard and I'm ready to take on those challenges of life here to where
It's a journey.
what do you have to go through?
Stay in the moment.
In yourself to get that point.
You just stay here. Because you're always okay here. You make plans. Remember the serendipity, we make plans, we go for them. And all the way along the way, you stay there. With the end in mind, trusting that things will work out on the way. Whether it's you, kind of what you're saying, you playing with it, or, you know, the real engine helping you along, that you have to trust in both of those, that you'll get there. Whatever that is. And maybe there is not really there, it's over here, ultimately. But you have to let go of things needing to be a certain way and just trust that your ego consciousness does not know what's best. It can't possibly.
I think it's a journey too. It's not something you do overnight, or even once you accomplish it, it's something you constantly have to work at. But it is trusting yourself and having faith in yourself, and that whatever comes your way isn't the end, regardless of how hard it is or whatever it is. There's always a way through it if you're open to different possibilities. You can't just say there's one way to get through this, because if you try it and you fail, you feel like it's the end.
Right.
Just knowing that there's many things and you can grow from all of it.
And our limited consciousness can't know the many things. But if we have the awareness that part of us, our superconscious, our infinite intelligence inside of us does, we look for that which is inside of us as our is that part of us that will bring those many things, the right of those many things to us. Okay,
I would say too, be willing to ride the wave. Sometimes you just have to ride through it, no matter how high the wave is.
sometimes you get thrown into the sand.
Yeah.
Okay, this is not an assignment, this is what we were going to finish with today. And this is kind of some of those things, we're not going to spend any more time on it, on serendipity, but this is kind of some suggestions for how to make this engine run in an aware sort of way. And just kind of read through this and see which ones of these really fits for you. And then I strongly recommend Iyer's book, Serendipity of the Spirit. It's as good as anything out there that is written. I tried to find stuff online and really feel that's the best thing that I can find. So, your assignment, do that by Friday, and then we're gonna make a quick diversion for the next 3 days. We're gonna be playing with relationships for just a little bit of time. It's a lot of fun. This is a really interesting diversion from where we've been, but we have to spend some time on relationships. It's so cool to do that.
We're
So,
starting that on Friday?
Friday, yep. So we'll see you on Friday. Have a great